Good morning, my name is Andrew Grant and I'm an artist and an NDIS participant. I'm here to share some of my lived experience as a person with a disability and to walk you through what information linking and capacity building has meant for me. I wasn't born with a disability, I acquired mine later in life. I started out living a normal life just like you. When I was young, I was quite active. I played sport, I sailed, I bushwalked, and I went swimming at every given opportunity. I rode motorbikes, worked on old cars, and vocationally I worked in very physical roles. I worked for national parks and forestry, and later I worked in various kitchens as a cook for over 10 years. I was socially active, I had friends, and I loved going to any sort of social gatherings. I travelled around and I enjoyed a lot of freedom. But then my life began to change significantly. I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, and I gradually found myself unable to continue on in the same style of physical work that I was accustomed to. I started to have trouble keeping up with my friends, and I began to withdraw more and more socially. There was a divide forming, a type of disconnect between myself and my friends, and the people that I used to work with. With that, my sense of self began to change. I believe that our sense of self is linked to the things we do. When we ride motorbikes, go bushwalking or swimming, that becomes, in a way, how you see yourself and what you identify with. And my sense of self was increasingly centred around disability, and I just didn't identify with that. I decided to be proactive in incorporating new elements into this sense of self. I had an opportunity to start afresh. I could be anything that I wanted, and the first thing that I wanted was to be a better person. Secondly, I'd always loved art. I could draw and paint, and it was something that I was passionate about. And I realised that I had the opportunity to be an artist if I wanted to be. So I started studying. I started at TAFE doing a tertiary entrance course, then an advanced diploma of fine art, and I finished a few years later with a Bachelor in Fine Art from the University of New South Wales. Now I had a degree and potentially a career. I was receiving in-home care in the form of support workers. I had a place to live. Essentially, all of my basic needs were being met. But there was still this divide that was in my way. I was still disconnected. I felt marginalised and I felt left out. Then one day, quite by chance, I met a guy from St Vincent de Paul at a local community outreach day. He told me he was a linker. And I said, "That's great, man, but what on earth is a linker?" And he explained to me that his role was to assist people, perhaps like me, to identify if there were things that could help me, that he could help me with by linking me with other services or information that would help me achieve my goals. "What goals do you have?" he said. I said, "Well, I have an arts degree, but I don't have any art materials that I need to produce a body of work so that I can have an exhibition. I can't get started." He said, "Well, we don't just give out money, but leave it with me and I'll see what else I can do." And with that we parted company, and I wasn't really expecting anything else to come from it. But a week later he called and we met for coffee and we discussed in more detail what I wanted to achieve. He listened and he began to understand what motivated me. He brought up the subject of art grants, and to be honest, I wasn't really impressed. I'd already tried that and found that rejection after rejection made me feel even worse. He found an arts grants organisation and set up a meeting so that I could get a feel for what a successful grant application needed. And then he found a free grant writing course in Sydney. I attended the 2-day course and put everything that I'd learned into my next grant application, and it was successful. I received an arts grant that provided me with assistive technology, enough art supplies to work for a year and produce 30 paintings, a videographer to document my body of work, and a gallery space to host an exhibition, which was a sellout show. I was able to achieve this because my linker listened, heard what I was passionate about, and helped me connect. The physical barriers are easy to identify and in some cases overcome, but the social barriers are less obvious. But with the help of my linkers, I eventually became very comfortable talking about the social barriers that were holding me back from participating more in my community. And it was with their help that I overcame them. We've all heard the saying, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever. Well, information linking and capacity building is giving someone the tools to fish. I've benefited greatly from my involvement with the linkers. They've helped me go from someone that was so self-conscious that I had difficulty going into a cafe to order a coffee, to being a self-employed artist that also has occasional public speaking engagements on the subject of disability, employment and social inclusion. Thank you for listening, and I hope that this session leaves you with some insight into the potential this program has to have a positive impact on the life of a person with a disability.